Okay, welcome everybody to the District 91 Open House webinar. Thank you very much for joining us. My name is Sean Dean. I'm the Club Mentor Lead on the Club Growth team in District 91. Open houses are a lot of fun to be part of, both as an event and also the organization of. And it's great that you're participating at this webinar so we can share knowledge about open houses, which I think we should have many more of, to be honest. And to lead us through this webinar is Ariane Allen. Ariane Allen is the open house lead in District 91 on the Club Growth team. She is a past president at Legacy Speakers Brixton. She's also been the vice president of membership there, and she's been a Toastmaster for 3 years. So can we have a big round of applause for Ariane?
Thank you very much for the introduction, Sean, and welcome to all of you. I'm very happy to be here with you today on this windy Sunday. I was thinking, oh, it will be very sunny and people won't be super motivated, but it's not, so that's great. You're at the right place. So today we are going to talk about open houses. And the good thing about open houses is that whoever you are, whichever club you're from, it will benefit you in some way. You can be from a club who is thriving or a club who is struggling at the moment. An open house will be able to help in some way. But before going into any more details, I would like to introduce you to the amazing panel that is sharing the floor with me tonight. You met Sean Dean, so the club mentor lead at the District 91 Club Growth team. We also have Aminat Omotosho, who was the president at the Croydon Communicators Club last year. And last but not least, we have Apurva Agarwal, who is currently the president of the City of London Club and was previously area director of the area K3. So they will form the panel later today, and thank you very much to the three of you for being here and joining this webinar. So I will share a quick presentation to really going back to the basics about open houses. Can you all see my screen? I can't see my own screen. Okay.
We see the PowerPoint.
Perfect. So what is an open house? So as indicated in its name, an open house is basically a meeting where clubs open their doors, their house, to the public. By the public, I mean that it can be anyone interested in knowing more about Toastmaster, familiar with Toastmaster, who want to try to give it a try. But it can also simply be someone who saw that, oh, there is an event about public speaking and they would like to improve their public speaking skills, and they just come and give it a try. The goal during your open house event is to showcase the benefits that Toastmaster could bring to the guest attending. So it can be in terms of public speaking, leadership, networking, presentation skills. And of course, also sharing with the community or any person who is interested your club culture and what makes it unique. An open house differs from regular meetings because it is designed specifically for the guest, unlike the regular club meetings that are more about members themselves. So now the question is, why hold an open house? And I think that you have many answers to this question. And it's only some of them that I'm going to mention now. So the usual and the main reason that we usually use is to increase membership. During an open house, you will do your best to reach the most people possible, to have a lot of guests in the room. And ultimately, what you would like is to have them converted into members to reinforce your numbers. But it's not the only use of this kind of events. Another thing another reason why an open house will be very useful is also if you want to enhance your club energy by engaging the current already members of your club can create another dynamism, and involving them in a different project will dynamize the club. Another reason could be just to raise awareness about Toastmasters in general. So you want to promote Toastmasters in the community, or in the case of corporate clubs in your organization, in your professional organization. And the last point that is also very important, as you know, each club has a unique way of leading meetings, a unique vibe as well. And during an open house, it's an opportunity to share this culture with other people. Now let's talk quickly about key elements of a successful open house. Something that is essential especially if your goal is to increase your membership thanks to the open house, is to promote. As soon as you have a final date agreed, you will do everything you can to promote your event, to have people registering to it and attending. This can be done through social media, so the classic LinkedIn, Twitter, if you use Twitter, Instagram, any social media platform that you use. This can also be emailing people you know. You can use flyers. So you will see on the right side the image. It was my own club. We printed some flyers and put them around close to Brixton so people can see it and get, oh, why not? It would be cool to join. And personal invitations are also quite interesting, as bring a friend, for example. The second thing you're going to focus on is having an engaging agenda. It can include speeches, table topics, but an open house will also include testimonials from current members, because what you want is for the guests to understand why why Toastmasters is interesting to be part of and what it can bring to them if they join as members. A third key element is guest experience. During the meeting, you will do your best for everything to be very well structured, very well organized, still in this purpose of having the guests feeling good, feeling welcomed, and understanding what Toastmaster is about. And to finish, another very important item is call to action. If you want guests to join as a member, you have to share it with them. You have to be clear about what you expect from them. And this is how you will get a successful open house. This was only some bits of elements, and now what is better to know more about what to do than speaking to the panel about their own experience. So we can now start with the panel discussion with Sean, Aminat, and Apurva. So the first question that I wanted to ask you is, linked to this last point that I just mentioned, in your own experience, what were the key steps that you took to plan a successful open house? And another important question that is linked to it is, how early did you start preparing this open house? Apurva, would you like to go
Of
first?
course. Yeah, of course. So I'll start with the how early we start. So just a quick introduction about my club. I am president of City of London Toastmasters Club. We meet in central London, very 10 minutes walk from Liverpool Street Station. And usually we do have roughly 60 members, currently 64 members, but when we had open house this year, we had 58 members. So on the question of how early do you start, we literally started in July when I took and when my committee and we took as the charge, because usually, so it really depends when you want to do the open house. In our club, always we do follow the pattern. It is going on year over year that we do open house in January. So we already know sort of tentative date what is going to be, and in the beginning we set out the roadmap for entire year. Hence, we set out the date for for club as well. Another key thing which comes with it is location, but we always do it in the same location where our club meets, so we didn't have to worry about it. Then what we try to, whenever we pick and choose to do open house, to organize open house, we try to see if there is a member, very keen member, or a very potential member who could be part of the next committee. We try to engage those members to organize open house, and it's a good experience for them to practice something and to work on their leadership skills. So we started, and then in November we really started discussing about what we are going to do in our club. So as I said, we have roughly 60 members, and it's a really interesting mix of people right now. Roughly 30% or 50% of members are fairly new, and remaining 40% are almost mid-senior members. So we had a very interesting challenge for us that some of our mid-senior members, they were not joining the meeting. So we took this opportunity and we thought, and we set the aim for open house, rather than focusing on having more members, we want to interact with the existing members, and we wanted to use our open house as enhancements on member engagement. And that's what we did. So we planned that we handpicked every single role, who will be very experienced person, will be Toastmasters. For a speech, we had a icebreaker as well, and one speech which had the experience, which was delivered by the experienced member. Then we started communicating in every single meeting. And within the committee, we divided all the members, and each committee member roughly reached out to 7-8 members. So basically, we used it to talk to every single member personally. So one person from the committee spoke to each member personally, which I think worked really well, even if they were coming to the meetings, or be the person who did not attend a meeting, let's say for a while. The feedback was they felt more connected, that club remembers them and we are keeping a check on them. And as a result, we can see that turnout into our, not just the open house meetings, all the other meetings after that, our members turnout has been doubled. So for me, in terms of key planning, start as early as possible, at least have a date in mind, and start sort of observing that what we want to do in open house, because you will have roughly from, let's say we want to do in January, so we had enough 4 months to observe that which direction club is going on, and accordingly we could decide what we want to do. And second thing, that's a most important thing, that aim, whether you want to focus on member engagement or you want to focus on more guests, and proceed from there.
Thank you very much, Apurva. Aminat, what about you and your experience?
from my experience, I think it's taken, because I've been part of open house that was done by the area, hosted by the area, which had 4 clubs. And I've also been part of an open house hosted by just 1 club. And I would say the time between publication and getting everybody together to actually the day was around 4 to 6 weeks. And that seemed to work fine for the team. Obviously, with the area you have, so like a bigger pool of people to pull from. I think sometimes also in the club, especially if you're like a small club, you're trying to grow, you can still pull from your parent sister clubs for assistance and setting if you need an extra hand to have just more Toastmasters in the room and to help with the evening. So that gives you like a plenty of lead time to advertise, but also to get everyone to solidify and just get people on ground and secure the team. That will be helping for the evening.
Thank you, Amina. Sean?
Yeah, so on the easier part of the question, how long do you want to push it into the future? How long do you want to organize? I think, yeah, sort of 4 to 6 weeks as my experience. Personally, I wouldn't want it much less than 6 weeks. I think Ariane, you covered it in your presentation, and Purva touched on it in her answer, is that this is a special event for the club, and that's great. That's a great opportunity to sort of push ourselves. And one of the Toastmasters, can't think right what a word is, but we're striving for excellence. So the more time we can have to organize, the better. Who is the best person for each of those roles that we can find? We want to give those people as much notice as possible. Is there a local dignitary that we want to come to the meeting? Well, again, maybe we need to give them 3 months notice to get it into their diary or calendar. That could be for a community club or for a corporate club. Maybe you want the big boss, the CEO there. Give those people as much time as possible, notice for them to come, so that you won't end up leaving a bit too late and finding out that they're already busy with something else. In terms of organization, I think Aminat and Apurva have given great answers. I sort of split into sort of like 3 phases. There's the promotion phase. Again, you want to give as much time as possible to communicate to the people you want to come to the open house. I mean, the guests. You want to be communicating early and often to them, so they know fully well about your open house. As already touched on, you want to give your club members and those organizing as much time as possible to do their preparations for the open house. And then afterwards, you want to have a plan in place on how to follow up with all the guests that you have. I know Purva talked about that their open house was more about increasing engagement amongst existing members, but obviously a lot of clubs use open houses to increase membership. So bringing in new members, you want to make sure that you have the details of all the people who came to the meeting and that you follow up with them within a day or two, and make sure that they're engaged, and they know that you want them to join, and they have the information to join your club.
Thank you, Sean. Yeah, in my own experience in my club, we organized an open house event, but I think we agreed on a date a month before the date we were supposed to hold it. And we started to work on it maybe 1 or 2 weeks later, which was leaving really not a long time to organize it. And we started to be worried that not a lot of people were registered and not a lot of people will join, will attend. And it's what happened. Only a few guests were present. So what we did is that we organized another open house with more guests, maybe 2 weeks after. So I agree with all of your comments. I think really at least a month before is ideal. What we did also regarding the steps to organize it, so we built a team especially for the organization of the open house, and we had 3 different teams because the team was quite small. So some people were working on marketing and communication. Some people were working on the agenda and Toastmaster experience and guest experience. And Toastmaster experience, sorry. And the third group was guest experience during the day. So we really tried to have all the important details covered by at least two people. And I think it really helped. Everybody has his own field. And of course, sometimes you coordinate to be sure that everything is aligned, but everybody has to think about their specialty in this case. So thank you very much. Has any of you something else that you would like to share about the key steps of planning? If not, we can go to the second question that I would like to hear from you. Have you implemented any creative way to promote the open house and attract guests? So it's more about the promotion part of the open house. Sean?
I'm glad I can go first because yeah, unfortunately, I don't think I've got many creative ideas. I mean, I'm sure you may have already heard most of them. For in my experience, for our club, it was mainly just using Eventbrite and Meetup, and that's how we attract guests for all our meetings, and it works out pretty well. One thing that we realized was that through the number of guests who have attended, and they found us through Meetup and Eventbrite over the years, is that we ended up having quite a few, you know, I don't know how many exactly, but we had hundreds of guests who we had their contact details of. So, I mean, some of those people aren't even guests. They registered to come to a meeting and, you know, for whatever reason didn't come around. But that was a great resource that we could use to contact and communicate to people about our open house. So that's maybe not very creative, but that's what we did. I liked some of the other suggestions that were brought up in the presentation in the previous answer, you know, about getting members to bring a friend along. I'll be honest, I did try to encourage that, but we weren't very successful. I hope maybe you are in your open houses.
I agree. Eventbrite is a great tool for this. Like most of our guests come even in regular meetings through Eventbrite. And I think that we did do some flyers for, you know, the last minute part of it. Like, okay, let's go, let's have direct contact with people to try to engage some, but yeah.
In our club, our VP PR, Anand, who is amazing at his job. So what he did, he scheduled in Canva 10 days in advance from the club, from the open house. Every alternate day, he scheduled it that an automatic social media post will go out on our Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram account. And our secretary, Eloise, took on her that she will take that post and will put it into our WhatsApp group. So 10 days before the open house, every other social media, our members were seeing something. So I think that was really clever of both of them to organize this, and it was Canva was all scheduled one-time job. So I'm assuming it would be still time taking for him, but not everyday job once you schedule it. So I think that was brilliant idea.
Yeah. No, that sounds really well. And I also agree with what Ariana said earlier on about putting posters and in the local area. Because I think one of our prominent member at my club, he came into the club, not on an open house, but after just hearing there was a speaking group meeting in the local area. And by that, he participated and now is a member, and many people know him. And he's gone to represent UK, the club, internationally, and what have you, and speak in many different spaces. I think one very creative way I've also heard is people, as in going to local fairs. So if summer is a really good time to go to local fairs, if they have fairs locally at your places, maybe autumn as well, sometimes the Christmas fairs, and just to share flyers and speak to people, maybe local job fairs that I know others have done in the past and seem to have brought people awareness to Toastmasters and brought their interest and guests to the open house as an option, because it's getting people who are not necessarily, some people actually have heard of Toastmasters, but have just pushed it to their back of their mind and not turned up. And some people, it's their first time getting to know about Toastmasters, and it's just getting the awareness out there to tell them, yeah, we're not we're a friendly bunch. Come and visit.
And something also, and it also, of course, depends on the contacts you have, etc. But you can also contact a local radio. Someone that is in this call for our club had a contact, and I think that some years ago someone went to speak. So it's also a good way to contact directly the community around your club. You can also, yes, put flyers on boards in libraries, in grocery stores, like really to make your club and your event visible. And of course, the bring a friend. I don't think it has worked very well either in our club, but when it does, it's quite amazing to be thinking, okay, I have 30 members. If each of them bring a friend, a colleague, family member, it will be 30 guests. So it's enormous. So if that's something that can work for your club, it's actually a great one. So now maybe we can talk a little more about the agenda structure and the kind of activities that you included in the open house you organized or helped to organize. There are so many options. I think that it will be interesting to hear some. In our club, what we did is that we had an icebreaker, and we had a speech from someone experienced. So it was to say to the guests, so you start, you may be stressed, you may be feeling a little uncomfortable, but you start, you jump in a speech, and slowly you will improve for sure on your presentation skills. So that was something that was quite good for the guests to see the evolution from a first speech to a later speech. What were the I don't know if we call them activities or type of items that you include in your agenda?
So I would say at open houses that we have been part of, one thing I think that really helps is keeping agenda options that are short and engaging as much as possible with the audience in the room. So our speeches were the Toastmaster brand of the 2 to 3 minute speeches, maximum the 4-minute speech range. We had, just like you mentioned, having an experienced Toastmaster, but even in their speech, making them choosing a speech that make reference to the experience of Toastmasters. So it's showing the audience members the journey of Toastmasters, a much more newer member to again give a icebreaker sort of like speech, but then also like very engaging parts of the Toastmaster agenda that are quite fun, like the Hackmaster, for example, that goes down a treat very well. Table topics for sure, having experienced members kind of like break the ground on what a table topic is so that the audience are not too scared to try it, but also even having fun questions as part of that. So making them just get in the spirit of just fun, excitement, lightheartedness throughout the whole meeting. I think that really helps and just keeps the energy in the room high, keeps the audience excited to be in the room, the members engaged, and just keeping it light, quick, got interactive, because I think what you really want at the end of the day is you want to spend as much time engaging with the guest one-on-one. So having like a longer network break, if your network breaks in your normal meetings are like 10 minutes, have a 20-30 minutes network break, because you want them to maybe see the speeches, the evaluations first, and then get kind of like just one-on-one time, just chatting, eating. If you have refreshment, that always goes down the treat in my club. That always goes down the tree. If you have refreshment, just getting to know your guests and getting them to speak to as much members as possible, because you will probably you don't connect with everyone, but that just one singular connection, then it feels either their story emerges well with you or they see you, that really wins and helps convert guests to come back and even become members.
Totally agreed. And as Andrew commented in the in the chat, and we can see that people are getting in. If you could be any animal, which one would you be and why? And I guess yes, exactly, and that's in line with what you're saying. I mean that you want also questions that are not scaring the guest away, because they come to give it a try. They don't know what to expect, so they don't want to be put on the spot and being stuck in front of the crowd for their first presentation. So yes, approbation.
So actually, in 20, sorry, Sean, you want to read?
And you go first.
Okay. So in 2023, when we did open house, in that open house we had roughly 160 people. So having the still we followed the same agenda but we wanted, that meeting really great, because the main aim for that meeting was just promoting Toastmaster, raising more awareness, and have showcase to public that what Toastmaster, how it can help you. And then fortunately, like with the sync, me and my mentor came, I did a speech, and I was really, really new to Toastmasters then. And I remember that speech title was Spectacular Failure. So, so the speech was all about my failures, but then my mentor and then back then Olga, she thought about, okay, it would be good to have that speech in an open house to showcase people that how you can overcome your failures. And usually people do not talk about failures, but Toastmaster is that safe and supportive environment where you can talk about failures and you can still learn a lot out of it. In this year's open house, as I mentioned earlier, that our main focus was members engagement. And in September, we had done a survey about what members want more from our club. So, and there was one very obvious answer that they want to know, they want more valuable evaluations. So we did an evaluation workshop and we invited Lynn to deliver that workshop, and it worked really, really well. It was a fantastic workshop. We had really nice feedback that our members were really benefit of it. Other than that, it was also for normal meeting. But yeah, we included what our members wanted, evaluation workshop, one icebreaker, and one experienced member speech.
I was just going to say that, I don't have much to add on Aminat and Apoorva's answers, but just that, Toastmasters, our club meetings are always a balance between providing for our paid members, our Toastmasters, and then also, our guests who are very welcome. And, it'd be great if they join the club, but otherwise they're most welcome. With an open house, that's slanted more towards the guest than it would be for a normal club meeting. So like Aminat said, a lot of sort of sharper, sort of punchier, sort of agenda items, try to get as many guests as possible to give a table topics. There's already been mentioned, make those table topics sort of easy and as fun and positive as possible, just to try and entice as many people to speak. And I also like what Aminat said about, have maybe a bit of a longer break than usual, or, try and add in time to speak to the guests, because just like with any club meeting, it's when we can actually have a chat with the guests, find out a bit about them, maybe a bit more of a detailed and a deeper reason why, or deeper reasons why they've come to the meeting or the open house. And that gives us a better chance of helping to show that how Toastmasters can benefit them.
And yes, I guess what you want during an open house is to make it fun for everybody, the guests and your members. And yeah, I think that breaks, and maybe also after the meeting, if you, in our open house, we plan some time after the meeting to mingle. It's also quite important, as you are all saying, to create also a proximity, and you get to know each other. Very important. So now that your open house is over, the guests, what are the strategy that you use to convert your guests into members? So I'm saying when the event is over, but actually I think that it's something you have to think about even like during the meeting and maybe even before the meeting. So how do you get guests to become members? Aminat, would you like to?
So I would say one thing that we found really helpful is getting in touch, like within a day or two of the event, to the guests. Getting in touch with them to get a feel for what the experience is, and then having details for them on subsequent meetings, what that is. Sometimes we've had guests at open houses. We then visited the club a couple of times, became members. We've had guests who came to an open house a year ago, didn't visit for quite a while, then came back a year later. So sometimes you not seeing them back immediately doesn't necessarily mean they will not come back to join your club. It just means at that particular point in time, they can't join for one reason or the other. So it's not like occasionally always just keeping in contact or reaching out to them if you have any special events or you're doing something exciting in your club that you think they might enjoy, just reaching out to them. Also when you get their detail, do ask them that would they like to get to hear back from you, because yes, you do not want to be just sending a barrage of emails to them on updates and what have you. But I find that it's really helpful for getting them to, okay, yeah, I had this experience, I enjoyed it, let's come back, let's get them excited and re-engage to come back and visit.
I think for me, it's as I said earlier, we were not focusing on conversion, guest to member conversion, but still, I think 4 or 5 members have joined after that. But it's more about it may not be this club, it can be any other club, because I spoke to some of the guests who were like, okay, we really enjoyed this meeting, however, it doesn't work because if they do not work in the city or whatever reason. So we asked them, okay, any club, you join any club, it's about Toastmasters, not that you attended our open house, you are our guest, so you have to become our member. So we sort of encourage them always that come to 2-3 meetings and then figure out for yourself if this is the club which you would really like to join, or is some other club you would like to join. And there are still some members who have not converted. There are still some guests who attended our open house, and I do see them still in regular meetings. They have not converted yet, but I'm sure at some point they would join one or the other club. Also, there would be some people who are like, okay, they joined, and then after 4 or 5 months, they will again remember about it and go and join some club.
I just wanted to add, maybe sort of going back sort of half a step, is that make sure you actually have a way to contact the guests of your open house meeting. So, we mentioned earlier about, Eventbrite, that, if somebody is registered, then you'll have their details, whether they actually attended the open house or not. But maybe there are people who didn't register and they attend anyway. And I don't think this has come up, but you might want to have sort of like a welcome or registration desk set up at your meeting, so you can note down the people who have registered or not, or just to make sure you know exactly who's attended the open house. And it's not so you when you follow up, you're following up with everyone who did in fact attend. You might want to give people name badges, and even sort of go a step further, that if you have over half or most of those guests giving table topics, and we've already talked about having a chat, before or during the open house, that in your communications you can incorporate potentially some of what you've discussed with them into those emails, and make it a bit more personal.
In our club, we recently started to use, well, maybe a year ago, started to use Toast Host. So it's basically a link, and people can register putting their names and email address, and they get an automatic reminder like, oh, thank you for attending the meeting. I think it's on the same day, late in the evening. Oh, thank you for attending the meeting. If you would like to join, this is the link. And if you would like more information, you can find it here. We also used Linktree, so we have a QR code. It's both in open house and regular meetings. When guests come in, they see the QR code, and in the Linktree, they find a tab registering as a guest. So there they share the information, so we are sure that indeed we can contact them later. So those two tools are quite great, because Toastmasters especially, you don't have to think about, oh yeah, I have to remember to send an email. It's automatic. So once the guest is registered, he will receive a reminder. So that's very good. Time flies, so maybe for the last question, I can ask you to reply maybe in a sentence. So if a club could focus on just one thing, one improvement for their next open house, what would you recommend? What is the most essential point for organizing an open house?
Order the open house box. We missed it. It has really nice badge. Ask me about Toastmasters. I really like it, and I do think that it's a very small thing. Call me crazy, but it really does help guests a lot. So order open house box.
I will come back to it a little later.
For us, the big one, we had our open house last week, and we had a target audience, which was predominantly students at the University of Westminster. And we found out 2 days before our open house that our target audience was also invited to another meeting at exactly the same time.
Oh.
So the actual presentation part of our meeting, we didn't have many attendees, but the social part afterwards, we did have a lot of people. But yeah, that was a mix-up somewhere along the line.
Yeah, this can be very tricky indeed. Sean, would you have what would you recommend to the people, the audience?
Give yourself as much time to organize as possible. So start now. Start at 6 o'clock. Start organizing your open house.
Aminat?
Mine would be keep it fun, keep it smart. I think something that we sometimes tend to ignore is, or one feedback that we've gotten from guests is how structured and organized our Toastmaster meetings are. And I think it's people want to, at least they come to the meeting, they want to get better and improve, but they also want to sometimes be in and out at the exact time, because either they have families or they have something else that they have planned, and they have they have just that 2 hours that they want to give it. So keep it fun, short, sweet, and smart.
And I have just one more point. My recommendation, go big. If you think you can attract 50 members, then think of a plan for 100. If you think you can attract 20, plan for 50. Just go crazy, go big.
Exactly. Thank you very much for the three of you for this great advice. I think that now we can go to the Q&A part, and I see that Lucinda has her hand raised.
Thank you, Ariane. A great presentation. Thank you very much for the loads of tips. I've got an observation, well, I'd like to share something and then ask for some tips. My club, or one of my clubs, Sussex Online Speakers, is, as you can tell from the name, an online club. Now, about 3 weeks ago, we held a terrific open house. It was well advertised. It was, everywhere, LinkedIn, Facebook, wherever you like. Obviously not leaflets, because an online club, you can't really do that. But we use every other avenue we could possibly think of. And on the evening, we did have guests, but they were all Toastmasters, and indeed Toastmasters that we already know. So it was a bit disappointing in terms of guests. However, we had a fantastic meeting. It really was full of energy. It was full of, you name it. It was probably the best meeting of that club I've attended for a long time. And what the PR, VP PR is doing right now, it was recorded, is splitting it up into little snippets to publicize on our social media. So my question really is, because you've actually concentrated rather a lot on in-person meeting clubs who only meet in person, do you have any tips for, we used Eventbrite as well, for online clubs to hold open houses? Because I think the pack that we've been talking about is probably not all that useful for online clubs. What do you think?
I think a
Yeah,
couple.
Yeah, go on.
Oh, thank you. So earlier on in the pandemic, we had a member in my club who was part of a women business community that mostly met online, that had like an online podcast kind of like set up. And one thing that she did during that time, because she was actually a BPR then, was bring, I think, our club presidents to one of their meetings then. So kind of like trying to broaden the audiences that are already online that are not Toastmasters, try to bring Toastmasters to them in whatever way possible, try to go into those communities that are already want and either go listen to online podcasts, already are engaged online, and try to get them to be aware of Toastmasters. That might be a really nice way to get them to then go, okay, I'm already online. This is already how I consume or a lesson or wellness and just improvement, self-improvement. So an online Toastmaster meeting then is not a big shift.
I would also add to it that, a word of mouth goes long way. So probably on that day, there were not so many guests, but if you keep posting those videos in social media, there will be more. And I would also recommend, actually, not my tip, one of our previous president organized an online open house, and 100 people turned up. And it was in 2019, I guess, 2019, 2020. And what Olga President then did, that she added one of the snippet into Eventbrite invite. So even before coming to the meeting, guests could see a short video, and it was very helpful for the guests to be familiar with the faces and to get an understanding what they are going to see.
I was just going to add that, in the open house that we organise, that I mentioned before, I think a lot of it was just increasing the amount of communication that it was the same channels that we were using to attract guests, but we were just spending more effort and sending more messages and more reminders to the people who are already interested in a club. Another thing, maybe slightly outside the box, I like Aminat's suggestion about trying to tap into other communities that meet online as well that might be interested. I don't know if anyone here has heard or has used Odyssey, which is a which is a sort of organization of networking and mentoring of Toastmasters. And yeah, I get a new match to network with, or a new mentor or mentee every 3 weeks, and a lot of those members are members of online clubs. And I know I shouldn't really be encouraging poaching Toastmasters from other Toastmasters clubs, certainly not from District 91 ones, but there are people who are interested to meet other Toastmasters all around the world, and they're interested in attending and joining other online clubs.
Jackie. Jackie, you have the floor.
Sorry, did you say Jackie?
Yeah, sorry. Oh, you're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, it was really a comment I wanted to make, is that we've done. I'm guessing I can hear myself echoing back. I don't know if someone's got their speaker on. Anyway, I'll carry on. Yeah, we've run several open houses at Ascot and Bracknell speakers. Our numbers are down. We've never really recovered much since COVID. Our club coach, asked District 91 for a box of the goodies for the open house, and she got an envelope with a couple of leaflets in. We have no other stuff, and we've had to go to TMI and order things like gavel pencils, ribbons, bookmarks and stuff. Can I ask that either D91 takes it off its list of support for open house, that you're going to get a box of goodies, or actually provides a box of goodies, or at least more than we got, or a refund for what we've spent on having to buy stuff for our guest packs to give out to guests. I don't know, it's changed. I mean, the first time I ran an open house a few years ago, I got a lovely great box full of all sorts of really useful stuff, all of which we've used. Any thoughts? Is anyone else getting a box of goodies when they have an open house, or we missed out?
I think, yeah, thank you for mentioning it, because yes, I do think that if we provide open house box, it should be consistent and have all the material needed inside. So usually you should get some badges, some balloons, and leaflets, of course. But if you only get the leaflets, the box
That's
was
it.
definitely not complete at all. So I will talk about it with the club growth lead.
Thank you.
So yeah. Tell me.
I was just going to say, other than that, we are running our open house tomorrow. We've used all of the suggestions that you've given, I think. I think we've used all of them. But one of the things that we're doing on our agenda that hasn't been mentioned is that we're running an Ask the Toastmasters panel, so that guests can actually ask an experienced Toastmaster what it's all about.
That's a great idea, indeed.
Yep.
So we only have 7 minutes left. Will there be a last question to ask the panel? No. Do you have a last word, Sean, Aminat, Apurva, something that you would like to share before we close the meeting?
I personally think that open house is really fun. It's a great opportunity for organizers to practice their leadership skills and give it back something to the Toastmasters community at the same time. And yeah, just go big, make it as fun as possible. And I personally recommend that decide a goal, what you want to achieve, and just work accordingly, and everything will fall into place.
Yeah. I totally second what you just said, Apurva. And it's just because at the end of the day, even Ariana, you mentioned it earlier on, every club has a different je ne sais quoi, a different, slightly different energy. And that is what, especially if you live in a space where your Toastmaster club, there are not that many options, it doesn't really matter. But when you are in a space where there is other Toastmasters in the area and you want members for your club, it's you want the day to basically be your club at its best. So at whatever the essence of your club that you feel it is, if it's your club just has, as in people come to you guys because you're funny class and it's humor that you guys work on the most, try to heighten that as much as possible. If it's deep, serious conversations, if you guys are very committed to that, heighten that as much as possible in a fun way, or heighten that experience so that when your guests see that, they, within that 2 hours, they get the full essence of you, the excited version or the full essence of your club.
I don't think I really have much to add. I like timing that it's your club at its best, and over encouraging us to have fun. I think Paul also mentioned that it's a good opportunity for maybe members in your club to take this forward and organize this, or take various roles that aren't club officers, that aren't on your committee. And especially it's the end of February. I'm sure everyone is deep into their succession planning. So this is the perfect time to identify and to sort of give people the opportunity to test their leadership skills, with the elections coming up and the new committee coming in 1st of July.
Thank you very much to the three of you again, and thank you to all of you in the audience. I hope that you learned something, maybe, but I do hope that you will start or continue organizing open house events. If you do not hesitate to contact me to get an open house box, hopefully complete, not like Jackie's experience. And if you need any advice or any support, I'll do my best as well. So indeed, today we mainly focused on community and in-person open house, and there are a lot of other things we could have talked about, low budget clubs, low amount of member club with not a lot of members, etc. So really, if you have any question, do not hesitate to contact me. I will send you a follow-up email during the week, and I hope to meet all of you someday in one of your clubs or in Brixton clubs. The president, Beverly, is in the audience as well, so I'm sure she will be very happy as well to have some other Toastmaster visiting. And have a great evening and a great week ahead. Thank you very much to all of you. And thank you very much, Andrew, our Zoom master, for being in the background and managing the logistics.